Hello, YouTube family, and welcome to Friday Night Live. I am Texas Beach Mom, or Mama Robin if you prefer. Um, Usually on Friday nights we discuss um, true crime, but tonight we're not going to. Um, I have had something heavy weighing on my heart for the last couple of weeks, and I haven't said anything on here because it is considered a political um, topic. It shouldn't be. It should be a private topic. But it is considered political. And because I am on YouTube, and because I'm sure my subscribers are, I probably got subscribers on both sides. I try not to, for the most part, rock the boat. I'm not always good at that, but this one is going to be particularly touchy. So all I ask is if you are watching this, you end up watching this live, or if you end up watching it later, that you hear what I'm trying to say and you take it for the way it's meant. Even though it's considered a political topic, I will try to keep this as non-partisan as I can. So here we go. Like I said, I'm not trying to hurt people or make people mad. I want you to take what I say, you know, um, even if you don't agree with me, try to understand my point of view. Okay. So I have a daughter. Most people watch me know I have a daughter, and she is 28 years old, and um, well, it's not that she can't have kids. It's that if she were to get pregnant and try to carry a child to term, it could kill her. The doctors aren't saying that it for sure would kill her, but it could. The likelihood is very strong that it could kill her. And she should have got her tubes tied sooner, but she's only 28, and most doctors won't do that until you're 30. But under the current climate and her current health, she is going to go ahead and get a tube ligation. Now, the main reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm sure there are women out there that are going to see this. And of course, like I said, some of you are going to agree with me, some are not going to agree with me. Um, However, no matter how you feel about it, I would appreciate if you don't agree with me that you try to see things from our side. And I'm bringing this up to possibly help somebody else that might be in her spot. Okay. So for her own, well, let me back up a little bit. Ever since Roe v. Wade was, um, uh, I can't even think of the word now. I had it on top of my head just a second ago. But ever since we lost Roe v. Wade, and the um, topic of abortion has gone back to the states. There's a lot of red states that have outlawed abortion completely. Texas is one of them. You can't get an abortion in Texas under any circumstances. It doesn't matter your health. It doesn't matter if it's an emergency. It doesn't matter if you were raped. It doesn't matter if it's incest. It doesn't matter. In Texas, you cannot get an abortion. And like I said, it's not set in stone that it would for sure kill her, but it would be a tremendous risk to her health and the health of the baby. But before Roe v. Wade, she wasn't I mean, she's always been on birth control. Don't misunderstand. She's not irresponsibly just running amok out there. She is on birth control. She has tried various types of birth control because she is afraid of getting pregnant. She's scared. But back when we had Roe v. Wade, it wasn't a big deal. And now that we no longer have that, if you're in a red state, in some red states, you can get one still under certain circumstances, but in Texas, you absolutely cannot. You can't. It's the way it is. But you can go to a blue state. Now, if you'll bear with me, I'm getting to why I'm bringing all this up. Because of the new president-elect, there are a lot of women out there that are very upset by this. I mean, if you voted for him and you like his policies, so be it. But if you didn't, and you don't like his policies, or you like most of them, but definitely not this one, I'm here for that. That's what this is about tonight. But the reason why this topic had come up is because me and my daughter were talking. So with that being said, for her, obviously, a tube ligation is what she's going to get done. She essentially has until January 20th to do it when the president-elect takes office, because right now he is just a president-elect. He is not a sitting president. But there is talk. He has made several speeches about this. And Project 2025, whether you agree with it or not, is a real thing. Now, there is talk in his speeches, his promises, that he's going to put a national ban on abortion. If he does that, and I understand he might not do it. I understand he might try to do it and not get it done. I understand that he might not even try. But for the women out there that are worried about this is what I'm here for tonight. If he does a national ban, it won't matter what state you live in. It won't matter if it's red or blue. Because right now in Texas, you can't get one no matter any circumstances. But in blue states, you can. You can go to a blue state. However, like I was saying, if he does a national ban, you can't. You can't. You won't be able to go anywhere. And again, if you agree with it or not, I understand, but try to look at it from one point of view. So she, of course, was afraid, and we were talking about possible ways for her and or other women who face this problem to deal with it. So with that being said, like I said, a tube ligation is what she's doing. She's going to go ahead and get that done. My eyebrow, it's just like right between. She's going to get that done. She's scheduled to have that done in mid-December. Because, as I said, if she were to get pregnant, it would be very harmful for her and the baby. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody run out and get their tubes tied. That's not where I'm going with this. It is a possible solution if you are worried about the upcoming laws. If you can't afford it, or if that's too much for you, you don't want to do that because you might want to have kids later. I get that too. So there are other options. And this is very hard for me to do on here. So again, just bear with me. If he passes that national ban, there's two parts to that ban. Part one is obviously no abortions anywhere. But part two is potentially monitoring or your women's cycles, which I don't know how on earth they plan on doing that. But part two of that is also getting rid of birth control altogether. So again, if you voted for him and you like this, that's fine. But if you didn't and you're scared and you don't know what to do, if the new upcoming laws scare you, and this is why I'm talking about this. If he does a ban, if he manages to succeed and he does this ban, it won't matter what state you live in, you won't get one anywhere. And if they go as far as outlawing birth control in general or only allowing certain types of birth control or whatever, it's going to make things even more complicated for women. So because her and I had this talk, I wanted to share what her and I discussed with women out there that might not be in this spot, but they might have a friend or family member in this spot. They might know somebody that's in this spot. So please, just hear me out. Gosh, this is difficult. Anyhow, I'm gonna just keep going. If he does the national ban and the birth control thing, and he manages to pass no birth control thing, and I don't know how they would do that, but I'm not going to argue with it. I know there's lots of women out there very upset right now. I know. I've talked to them. So here are some alternative things you can do right now before he becomes a sitting president, which isn't until January 20th. As of right now, he's just an elect. He's not sitting. Won't be sitting to January 20th. Okay. Before he becomes one, there are things you can do. I realize the duplication is too extreme for a lot of women. That's fine. You might want to have kids later. That's fine. That's why I'm talking to you about these things. Number one, there are hormonal IUDs that last anywhere from 3 to 8 years. If you get into your doctor, and you can get that done. It takes, most of them last. There are ones out there. There's 4 on the market right now. Depending on which one you get, it's an IUD that lasts 3 to 8 years. That's enough time for you to decide what you want to do. That's enough time to decide, do you want a tube ligation? Because right now they're still legal. After January 20th, I don't know if they're going to be. I honestly don't know. But that 3 to 8 years gives you more time. If you can't do an IUD or you don't want to for whatever reason, there are other alternatives. Now, none of them are pretty. But again, there are women out there that are very scared right now. They're very upset. I talk to some people every day. And like I said, it was my daughter's health condition that brought this conversation. And because she's a pharmacy tech, she knows what's out there and she knows how it works. So thanks to her, I'm able to pass the information along to other people. So there are many other alternatives, and maybe none of them work for you. Maybe I'll say something that makes you go, okay. So the first was tube ligation. Like I said, I know that might not be everybody's cup of tea. That might not be a thing for everyone. There's like I said, those are hormonal IUDs that are, depending on which brand, there's 4 of them out there, last anywhere from 3 to 8 years. So that gives you plenty of time to figure out what you want to do. If none of that works for you for whatever reason, they now make an over-the-counter birth control. You don't have to have a doctor to get it. You buy it at any pharmacy. Now, because they are talking about, not just rumors, I mean, Congress, President-elect, everybody's up in arms over this because there is talking about a birth control, like tracking your birth control, tracking your cycle, and tracking your birth control. And again, actually be done I'm just trying to pass on some words of wisdom. If they manage to do that, though, you're going to want to need to know this. So here we go. There is an over-the-counter birth control that you can get at any pharmacy. I don't know how expensive it is. I haven't been able to find it out. Might be very pricey. But because they are over-the-counter, you don't have to have a doctor's prescription for them. You can go in and buy them. If you're going to do something like that, I would suggest buying them now. And I would suggest buying as many as you can. And I would also suggest paying for them in cash and not using your card. If so, there's an option. So there's obviously hysterectomies out. I'm not suggesting anybody run out and get a hysterectomy. Like I said, you got to have a reason for it. Two locations might be out for a lot of women. There's the IUD that I mentioned. There is over-the-counter birth control. There's also a Plan B pill, which is more commonly referred to as the morning after pill. They have a shelf life of 4 years. So if you can afford to stock up on a few of those, I don't want to talk to anybody about religion. This is about health. If you have the money and want to go out and stock up on a few of those, can. But again, I would do it before the 20th of January. And I would not use a credit card. I would use cash. The last one, the last alternative is not for most people. And I understand that. And you have to have a doctor, so it's not a very viable one anyway. But there is an actual abortion pill. But you have to have a doctor's prescription. So if they pass that national ban, those won't even be available anymore. And I'm not suggesting people run out and get abortions. I'm just saying that if you are worried about, or you or a family member or a friend are worried about being pregnant and the possibility of the upcoming laws changing, then by all means, I'm just simply providing options for people to look at right now. So that's really about all I have. I didn't think that this would take me very long to discuss. If you missed the beginning of it, if you're watching now and you missed the beginning of it, I brought this up because, as I said earlier, my daughter, is 28 and has been informed by her doctor that if she gets pregnant and tries to carry it to term, it could, not definite, but could kill her and or the baby. So with the statewide abortion bans now and the possible abortion bans later, these are things that women are asking about. Well, hi, Dolly. How are you doing tonight? Like I said, this was hard for me to do, and it's not going to be a good conversation. I might even lose subscribers over this one. I hope not. I hope that people realize what I'm trying to do. I'm simply just trying to help, because I every day I run into women that are scared. They're scared about the upcoming laws. They're scared about a lot of things, but most of them are scared and concerned about women's rights being taken away. Because even if you don't agree with the things I'm talking about, other people need the help. And that's all I was doing tonight. I don't have true crime. I don't have a true crime thing. I did have one lined up, but I felt like this was important. So if I guess I still got plenty about the true crime story I was going to talk about tonight because that's pretty much what I talk about. But I want to get this stuff out. If you had any questions about anything I said, be sure to ask. I will answer. I am simply trying to help. So now into the true crime story that I was going to talk about tonight. Because I kind of wasn't going to do it, and then I kind of was, and I'm kind of going back and forth. While I've been talking, I've been going back and forth. So let's go ahead and dip into it. I need to look up exact dates real quick. There was a girl named Jan Breitborg. I remember her name exactly. I know her name was Jan. Oh, that ain't right. There was a girl named Jan, and I can't remember her last name at the moment. I'm so sorry. I've had so much on my mind with this going on. Hi, darling. If you want to go back and rewatch the beginning of this, you're more than welcome to, sweetheart. I did touch on subjects that most people don't want to touch, especially here on YouTube. But I do feel like that some people needed to hear about it. But now that uncomfortable part is over with, and I feel like I can breathe better, now I'm going to get into the true crime story. Bob Berthold. This means if I look up the guy's name and maybe I can find it that way. No, it's all right, sweetheart. Aha, there it is. Robert Berthold. Okay. There it was. Jan Broberg was abducted not once, but twice by the same man, and both times under her parents' nose. Both times. So let me see if I can pull up some details real quick. I know the story, like I could tell you the whole story. I don't know all the details to it. Sternberg and Robert Berchtold. Jan Broberg was kidnapped twice by Robert Berchtold, a man she considered to be a second father. It's been 50 years since Jan Broberg was kidnapped for the first time by Robert Berchtold. A lot of people have heard this story and don't realize they've heard this story until I get into it more. Back in the early 1970s, Jan's parents, Mary Ann and Bob, met Berchtold and his family while attending church in a small town in Idaho. The two families became close, and Jan eventually thought of Berchtold as a father figure. He had. I'm glad that you love us both. I appreciate that. Kelly does good videos. Back in the early 70s, Jan's parents, Mary Ann, and you're becoming one of my favorite people. Oh, I'm missing my mom, and even though we're close to your age, you're so easy. Oh, honey, thank you. And I'm so sorry you're missing your mom. And if I can fill any void, anything, I'm happy to. I am. I'm happy to. And we are kind of close in age, but I don't mind being Mama Robin to people. So with that being said, maybe you want to go back and catch the beginning of this later. Maybe you don't. You might not appreciate what I said. But the things I said, I thought were important, whether you agree with the topics or not. So you might go watch them anyway. Okay, but it's been 50 years in the early 1970s. Jan's parents, Mary and Bob met Berchtold in his family, blah, blah, blah. I went through all that. He had ulterior motives. Of course he did. Over the course of several years, Berchtold set his sights on Jan, going as far as to having a separate affairs with her parents to keep her within reach. Now, let me explain that. Because like I said, I know the story. I don't always know all the dates, but I know this story. So let me explain what he means by that, because he's not kidding. He seduced each parent separately in order to break up the home, and yet it's, to keep the parents at odds, and at the same time keep his eye on Jan, because Jan, little 12-year-old Jan, was the prize, and he was keeping his eyes on the prize. So when it says that he had separate affairs with both parents, uh-huh. I know, honey, but there's women out there that, for medical reasons or personal reasons or whatever, are scared, and they're looking for help. And I'm just was trying to give a word of things they can do to help protect themselves. But onward. Over the course of several years, Birchtold set his sights on Jan, going as far as to have several affairs with her parents to keep her within reach. On October 17, 1974, Birchtold took 12-year-old Jan under false pretenses and held her captive in his RV, convincing her. Now, I don't get so mad at her because she was a 12-year-old child and she was a lot easier to manipulate. But the parents, I blame the parents on this one. But anyway, he took the child out. He asked the mom, Marianne, if he could take Jan out horseback riding. And they didn't see a problem with that, even though they had two other daughters that he didn't spend any time with. They didn't have a problem. They did not have a problem with him taking his. And there had been many times he spent the night at their house, sleeping next to their daughter, and they didn't have a problem with it. I can't get really mad at the 12-year-old girl. She didn't know what was going on. However, she was easy to manipulate because she was 12. So this man asked her parents, "Can I take your daughter Jan out horseback riding?" They, of course, said sure. There was red flags everywhere, and they admit that now, but because I just saw a thing about it not that long ago. They admit that there's red flags about that. They saw the red flags, but they ignored them. Anyhow, so they want to take her horseback riding. Well, he never brought her home. Just didn't bring her home. Anyway, he took 12-year-old Jan under false pretenses and held her captive in his RV, convincing this 12-year-old girl that aliens had given them a mission to have a child together and save the planet. Soon after, Birchtold drove Jan to Mexico, where they wed. While Birchtold later was charged with kidnapping, he continued to manipulate Jan and her parents. She still believed the alien mission was real. And Birchtold kidnapped her a second time on August 10th, 1976, to complete the mission. In the end, the two were found, and Birchtold was sentenced to time in a mental facility, but it wasn't the last time their lives crossed paths. So let me explain more about that, because this isn't giving much information. So let me tell you what I know. Like I said, he initially had affairs with each parent separately, so they would be at odds. They also Oh, well, thank you, honey. Well, I mean, I'm probably not. I mean, if you can do it another half hour, I'll probably be wrapping this up in about a half hour. And if you need to go to bed, that's sweetheart. I understand. You can always watch it again. You can watch it later. Um, but anyway, um, what I was saying was I lost my train of thought. Boy, I'm getting too old for this. um, he had convinced her of aliens. Um, God, I'm trying to remember all the red flags. There was so much. There was so much that happened, and there were so many red flags in this, and nobody did a thing. Nobody did a damn thing. Um, he convinced the child that there was aliens and she was supposed to marry. He took her on her false pretenses. Got the FBI was brought into it on the first kidnapping. Honey, me and Kelly aren't fighting. Let me explain it since you brought it up. Wasn't going to get into it tonight. Me and Kelly aren't fighting. She thinks I'm intelligent, and I think she's intelligent. I simply, very politely, in my opinion, and very respectfully, watched a video of hers, said I agreed with 90% of the video, but there was one aspect that, in my opinion, I did not agree with. That's all that happened. That's how it got started. I simply did not agree with one aspect. And I woke up this morning to a 3-paragraph comment on my page about the things I said. Now, in my opinion, I watched it again just to make sure. I didn't feel like I said anything wrong. I just simply said I didn't agree with her opinion on one issue. She sent me a 3-paragraph thing telling me I was a liar, I was irresponsible, and then I should watch her video again before I say anything else. All I did was called her out and said, look, I'm sorry you don't agree with me, but I don't agree. I didn't agree with you. And then I did feel like she was implicating stuff on Shanann. I don't have a problem with Kelly. I don't have any problem with Kelly. And you know what? In a few days, this will blow over and everything will be peachy. But I did not agree with something she said in her video. And that's literally all that happened. And it has been blown way out of proportion now. So I'm just kind of letting things settle down. But now I've explained it. I'm not trying to fight with anybody. I said I agree with her MLM, her this and that, the other. I agree with every aspect. One aspect of the video, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said I didn't agree with it. And she was very upset. So, but I appreciate your concern. I do. I appreciate your concern. And like I said, I woke up to this comment and it struck me wrong, and I called her out on it. And then after I thought about it, I took it down. So, I'm trying to get things to smooth over. I'm just trying to get them to go away from now. Back to my story. So he, like I said, he's had an affair with both parents. He was spending nights over at the house. He was doing all kinds of stuff. Under the parents' notice, the FBI was involved. The FBI was involved on the first kidnapping, and the FBI told the parents, do not have him in your life anymore. Do not talk to him. Do not let your children talk to him. Do not have anything to do with them. And they turned right around and they did the opposite what they were told to do and blew the case completely up. The FBI guy that I was watching that gave the interview about this, he was so mad about that. He said, we had him. We could have put him away for a very, very long time. We could have put him away for a very, very long time. And we didn't. We weren't able to because you did the opposite of what I told you to do. So the FBI guy was really upset. So anyway, after he kidnaps her once and they finally get her back home, they kept Jan and him kept talking. They were sending each other letters. Jan, the 12-year-old girl, was still talking to the 40-some-year-old Robert Birchstrode. They were having communications under the parents' nose, and the parents did nothing about it or didn't care or something. So, sometime later, he kidnapped her again. And this time, to keep her from getting back to her parents, he enrolled her in a Catholic, all-girls Catholic school and told the nuns that he was her father. And he told the nuns that he was a CIA agent and that the mother had died and da 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 da. And had her hid away in a Catholic school. I do believe in, because this article doesn't cover it. What's Utah? Had her hid away in a Catholic school in Utah. He was living in California. He had her hid away in Utah. So anyway, he has this girl hid away, kidnaps her second time. Well, then they finally bust him and they get the girl back home. But she had been told by this man that if she did not have a child with him by the age of 16, that her dogs would die, one of her sisters would be struck blind, and the other sister would be kidnapped. So she was trying to comply because she thought she was protecting her sisters and her dogs. Well, when she turned 16 and she'd been away from him all this time, and she realized, hey, my dogs are fine, my sisters are fine. Oh, crap. Golly gee willikers, maybe I was lied to. Her parents dropped the ball on this several times. Okay, at the end of the year, Birchall was sentenced to a time in mental facility, but it wasn't the last time their lives crossed paths. So what happened to Jan Broberg? Here's everything you to know about her kidnapping and where she is now. Birchall, a husband and father of 5, met the Brobergs in June 1972 when he began attending the same church in Idaho, according to the 2017 Netflix documentary Abducted in Plain Sight. The Broberg family was involved in church and devout members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they invited Birchall and his family into their home. Over the next few months, the two families spent time together, with Birchall earning the nickname B. In the documentary, Jan revealed that she considered him a second father, sharing that she initially felt safe with him. He made it routine to visit her every night to talk to her and play games. Everybody had a best friend. Between the Brobergs and the Birchall family, there was a best friend for everyone. We had some of our best times when we were with the Birchall family, Jan said. What happened in the time leading up to Jan Broberg's first kidnapping? After the first encounter in the church, Birchall gained the trust of Mary Ann and Bob to get Jan. From the beginning, the couple noticed Birchall had a fascination with Jan, but he managed to distract them with his charm. He even had separate romantic affairs with them, as I said. He actually had a gay affair with the dad and a heterosexual affair with the mom. It's a mess. In doing so, Birchall was able to spend increasing time with Jan, even giving her a job at his furniture store. She also accompanied the Birchall family on a trip to Seattle in June 1973. During an appearance in 1973. Kind of talks about some of it. One night while they were out to dinner, Jan appeared unwell, swaying in her seat and speaking incoherently. Birchall took her back to the motel where she drifted in and out of consciousness. Afterwards, she only remembered waking up and seeing him without clothes. Then in January 1974, Birchall was reprimanded by the High Council of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints after they uncovered his relationship with another young girl. He checked himself into a treatment center in California, and when he returned, he explained to Marianne and Bob that his issues stemmed from being sexually assaulted when he was a child. He told the couple that as part of his therapy to overcome his trauma, he had to be around a child who was the same age as his abuser while listening to a therapeutic tape recording from his psychologist. Marianne and Bob hesitantly allowed Berchtold to spend time with Jan while she was sleeping. He lay beside her for 20 minutes every evening for nearly 6 months, up until the day he kidnapped her. On October 17, 1974, Berchtold invited Jan for a week of horseback riding lessons. As the owner of a furniture store, he was heading to a ranch belonging to a client to take some measurements. Jan, who had previously ridden horses with Berchtold and his son, agreed to join. But since it was a school night, her father said no. When Berchtold later asked Marianne instead, she approved it. The dad had already said no, so he asked Mom, can we take the daughter out horseback riding? Mom said, sure. She approved it as long as Jan was back before dinner. Berchtold proceeded to pick up Jan from her piano class. And on the way to the ranch, they gave her what she believed to be an allergy medication, or sleeping pills. They didn't find this out later, but he was telling her he was giving her allergy medication because she had some allergies. And then it turned out they were sleeping pills. Instead of sleeping pill, when she awoke, she was tied down to a bed in the RV. She went in and out of consciousness as a tape recording played told her she was secretly part of an alien race. The voices told her that the aliens had been watching her since she was born, and now she had a mission to help them with their dying planet. Jan was instructed that the male companion was waiting in the front of the RV, and she must bear a child with him before her 16th birthday. They said that if I did not do that, my father would be killed, and my sister Karen would go blind, and my sister Susan would be kidnapped and take my place as the female companion. Dear God. The only thing I was thinking about was protecting my family. Isolated as afraid, Jan believed the story. As she approached the front of the RV, she discovered Berchtold, who had orchestrated a scene to appear hurt and unconscious. When Jan woke him, he told her he'd been driving when they saw a flash of light and the car started shaking. Over the next several weeks, Berchtold drove the RV toward Mexico, during which he began sexually assaulting Jan under the guise that they were trying to complete the mission and get her pregnant so she could give birth to a baby. Good Lord. When they arrived in Mexico, the pair got married, as child marriages are legal at that time in Mexico. Why didn't Marianne and Bob contact the authorities right away? It says. Well, they didn't. I can tell you what this is going to say basically. When the reason they didn't contact the authorities right away was because they didn't think he would do anything to hurt her. They didn't think they would do anything to hurt her. That, and the husband had to confess that he had had a sexual relationship with Bob, and the wife didn't want her husband embarrassed. So rather than embarrass her husband, they didn't call the FBI immediately. That evening, Berchtold's wife, Gail, came over and tried to reassure the couple that he would come back soon, according to the documentary Abducted in Plain Sight. Mary Ann suggested calling the police, but Gail said no, wait. Since Mary Ann and Bob didn't believe Berchtold would hurt their daughter and didn't want to get Gail upset, they held off calling the police. So let me help you understand this. They didn't want to upset the neighbor's wife, the one that ran off with their kid, and they didn't want their husband being, she didn't want her husband being embarrassed. They decided not to call the police. We'll let our daughter be kidnapped. It's not a problem. 2 days later, Jan and Burstall still hadn't returned, so Marianne called the FBI. Unfortunately, the office was closed for the weekend, and another day passed before Marianne dialed a different number. Upon receiving a message from the FBI, agents immediately headed to the Broberg home, beginning a nationwide search for the little girl. Weeks went by with no sign of Jan or Burstall. On day 35 of Jan's abduction, Burstall called his brother Joe and told him he wanted to come home, but he needed to convince Mary Ann to give her parental consent for him to marry Jan, as it's not legal in the United States. So, to help you understand again, the man that had their daughter called his brother and said, hey, I want to come home and I want to bring Jan home, but I need permission from the parents to marry Jan because we can't be married here in the States. And if I come back with her, I'll be in trouble for kidnapping, when I didn't really kidnap her, but he did. Joe approached Marianne, who denied Burstall's request, and informed the FBI. Joe's phone was tapped, and the next time Burstall called, they traced it back to a hotel in Mexico. Burstall was then arrested by the Mexican police, but before Jan's parents arrived, he bribed a prison guard to let her see him again. Burstall told her that the aliens had visited him, and they had warned him not to mention their mission to anyone. So this is him in jail telling it to a 12-year-old girl that they still have a mission to complete and that she's not allowed to tell anybody. If she disobeyed, her sister Karen would go blind, her father would be killed, and her sister Susan would be taken her place, and she would be vaporized. Was Robert Burstall charged with kidnapping? Well, let's find out. I don't think he was, but let's find out. After Mary Ann and Bob arrived in Mexico, they flew back to the United States with Jan, but noticed something was different about her. Soon after, they issued a request to Mexican authorities for the marriage between Jan and Burstall to be annulled. Jan was also taken to a doctor for an examination, who incorrectly concluded that she hadn't been sexually abused. Although she returned to school, she said she was concerned about how she would continue the mission with Burstall. In addition, the FBI warned the Brobergs against spending time with the Burstall family, but they ignored the advice. As I already said, good for them. Good parenting. Meanwhile, Burstall was taken back to the United States where he appeared before a grand jury. He was indicted on kidnapping charges. Okay, well, he was indicted on kidnapping charges. While reflecting on the situation, Gail came over on Christmas Eve of 1974 and threatened to expose Bob's affair with Burstall. Remember, the mom and dad each had a separate affair with this man. So the wife of the kidnapper threatened the family of the girl that was kidnapped that if you go through with this, we're going to tell everybody about your husband, Bob, having an affair with my husband. I was quite shocked. I felt terrible, especially for my husband, Mary Ann recalled. I just thought, oh no, that can't happen. So we signed the affidavits. Great. In the affidavits, Mary Ann and Bob stated that Jan had not been taken by force and wasn't confined against her will, that Burstall believed he had their consent to leave with her. When the affidavits were presented in court, a federal judge overruled the request to drop charges. Mary Ann and Bob eventually withdrew their affidavits per the Trust Me podcast. So are we following this so far? He has sexual affairs with the parents, kidnaps the daughter, convinces her that she's half alien and that she needs to have sex with him to save a planet and protect her sisters and blah, blah, blah. Then when the FBI steps in, the FBI tries to do something about all this, and they tell them, do not talk to him. And what happened? They decided to do it anyway because they didn't want their husband. She didn't want her husband, anybody to find out her husband had an affair. She wasn't worried about her daughter being kidnapped. She was more worried about her husband having a damn affair. Oh, dear God, the parents dropped the ball on this one. Although the trial was delayed, Berchtold pled guilty of a felony charge of kidnapping in June 1976. He was sentenced to 5 years in jail, which was reduced to 45 days. Damn. He was sentenced to 5 years in jail, which was reduced to 45 days after receiving credit for his big time behind bars in Mexico. In good behavior, he spent about 10 days in jail. Are you fucking shitting me? How was Berchtold able to abduct Jan for a second time? Alrighty. After Berchtold returned from Mexico, he was released from jail while his trial was delayed. He moved to Utah to work on his brother's car dealership, but returned to Idaho every weekend. During that time, he began secretly seeing Jan, visiting her in the middle of the night and telling her of his communications with the aliens. Are you fucking shitting me? After Berchtold returned from Mexico, he was released from jail. His trial was delayed. I just said that, but never mind. The phone did something weird. He came in and he would come in and talk about the mission, and that the mission was going to continue, and that they were making plans and preparations for us to be together and to just keep doing what I was doing and following the rules. Jan began receiving love letters from Berchtold and willingly wrote back. She even confessed her feelings to her mother, telling her mother, Marianne, I want to marry Berchtold and have children with him. Oh, my dear Jesus. All right. I loved him deeply as I ever loved anyone. My level of commitment and love for him was profound as anything I'd ever experienced in the realm of love Jan shared. But it was profound, it was committed, and in every sense of the word. During that time, around the spring of 1975, Berchtold also continued communicating with Marianne, and they restarted their affair, and after Bob found out, they almost divorced, but eventually realized Berchtold was running their lives, and they needed just to cut him out. Fast forward to the summer of 1976, Berchtold bought an amusement park in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, while waiting to report to jail. Berchtold convinced Jan's parents to let her visit the damn amusement park. Are you fucking serious? After everything this man has done to the wife, the husband, the daughter, kidnapping her once, then they convince her to go to the damn amusement park? What the fuck are these parents doing? Are they serious? Oh my God. Now, see, I know the story pretty good, but I didn't know this part. And I'm like, are you serious? Convinced Jan's parents to let her visit, even though she returned after 2 weeks, she was unhappy. He repeatedly called Marianne and told her he was going to kidnap her again. So he calls the mom and he says, hey, Marianne, I'm going to kidnap your daughter again. And he says, I'll take her to the jungles of Africa. I'll take her to South America. You'll never find us, Marianne recalled. She said, leave me alone. Leave my children alone. Stay out of our lives forever. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm sitting here going, are you freaking serious? Hold on. We'll get to a summary in here in a second. So leave me alone. Leave my children alone. Stay out of our lives forever. And he did not like that because he didn't want to leave Jan alone. As a result, he kidnapped her again. What happening to the Jan Broberg's second kidnapping? In August 10, 1976, Jan disappeared in the middle of the night, leaving behind a note to her family. It declared she was running away with Berchtold until her family allowed her to live her truth. While she claimed to be leaving on her own accord, it was later discovered that Berchtold had aided her in her disappearance. In the following days, Berchtold contacted the family, telling that Jan had contacted him to let him know that she had run away. Despite being increasingly concerned, the Brobergs waited nearly 2 weeks to contact the authorities. I had no words for a second there. I was like, are you kidding me? This is a doozy. Despite being increasingly concerned, the Brobergs waited nearly 2 weeks to contact the authorities, fearful of the public's reaction to the second disappearance. Well, no fucking wonder you're upset about you think the public's going to hang you. You should have. I'm so mad. I'm reading this and I'm getting really angry. Fear of the public's reaction to the second disappearance. So Birchall pretended to be concerned the FBI agents knew he was involved. 3 weeks into Jan's disappearance, Birchall began his jail sentence. He only served 10 days behind bars, and upon his release, he moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, and kept in contact with the Brobergs while the search continued. So this man is pretending he doesn't know where this child is, but he's the one that put her in the Catholic school and kept her away from her parents. And Jesus, what a mess. In past, okay, Catholic boarding school. 3 months after Jan's disappearance, authorities finally found Berchtold. After monitoring him for several weeks, they discovered that he left the directory open to a page with a number scribbled on it after making a call in a phone booth. They traced the number back to a boarding school and realized Jan was enrolled under an alias. Berchtold had told the nuns that Jan was his daughter and that he was a CIA agent and he had escaped from Lebanon during the Lebanese Civil War. After moving to Utah, Berchtold would visit her on the weekends. Jan was removed from school, and Berchtold was arrested the next day for federal parole violation. What happened to Jan Broberg after the second kidnapping? After the second kidnapping, Jan struggled to assimilate her life at home, and her family says she grew distant and hollow. When her father's floor shop burned down, she believed it was a punishment because she hadn't completed the mission. Remember, she was told by this crazy man that she had a mission to complete, and if she didn't, a sister would die, another would be blind, her dad would be dead, dogs would be dead, blah, 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 blah. She believed in her little mind that she had to complete this mission. Jan continued to speak with Berchtold occasionally, but looking back, she says he began to lose interest as she got older. Well, of course, as she's getting older, he didn't want her anymore because she was no longer a child. Oh, this sick pervert. By 1978, Jan began questioning the truth behind the alien story. While at summer camp in Utah, a boy her age began to show romantic interest in her, and she feared that the aliens would take revenge because it was not part of the assignment. When nothing happened, she said that she had her first thoughts the whole thing might be a lie. Okay. Hold on. Let me hold on. I remember 12. I remember what I was like at 12. And if some man had kidnapped me and told me that I was an alien and that I had to have sex with him to save the alien race, I would have never believed him. I would have never believed him. I'm sorry. I am not victim blaming. I am not victim blaming. I am not victim blaming. That's what I get mad at other people for. I am not victim blaming. I'm not mad at her. This is not her fault. She was a child and she was easily manipulated. But her parents are to blame. Oh my Lord Jesus. Okay, hold on. Oh my God. January story when nothing bad happened. Okay, ahead of her 16th birthday, Jan said that she was still afraid that her family would be punished for not fulfilling her duties. She even considered killing herself and her sister Susan in a worst case scenario. When Jan woke up on her birthday and she saw that everyone was okay, and she realized the aliens hadn't been real, Jan eventually told her sister and her best friend, who encouraged her to tell her parents. What happened to Robert Berchtold? Good Lord. Following the second kidnapping, Berchtold faced several criminal charges, including first-degree kidnapping, impersonating a Central Intelligence agent. He hired two men that he met in jail to start a fire at. Okay, remember we talked about the dad's fire shop burnt down? He hired two men that he knew in prison to burn down the flower shop. Still, he wasn't charged with either after the court proceeding. Berchtold was later acquitted of the kidnapping charges by the reason of mental defect. In June 1977, he was sent to a court-ordered mental facility and was released a few months later. Pardon me, I'm about to say something I'm not supposed to say on YouTube. What the fuck and why? What the actual fuck and why? Throughout his life, Birchall allegedly sexually assaulted at least 6 other children using the alien psychology on the other victims, according to Abducted in Plain Sight from America's Vanity Fair. Birchall was only found guilty of rape of a child once and spent a year in jail for that. Years after Jan's kidnapping, when she published a book and began speaking about her experience, Birchall tracked her down. He started going to her events. He started telling attendees that she was lying. Oh, girl, I'm sorry. After threatening the Broberg family, if they didn't get rid of the book, he would make their life miserable. Okay. He said he would tell the whole town that to access Jan, he was given total access to Jan for exchange of sexual favors with Marianne and Bob. So he was going to take the sexual thing. Whoops, shit, I lost it. It disappeared now. Something else is playing and I hit a button. Holy crap. Oh, Lord. All right. I hit a button and now it's gone. All right. So we don't need dates anymore. Okay. I'm going to just do a really quick summary and then we're going to wrap this up. Because I kind of want to recap. I want to make sure we're all on the same page here. You have Marianne and Bob. They have 3 daughters, Susan, Karen, and Jan. They have a neighbor next door, Robert and Gail. Those 2 have 5 kids. The family all hung out together. They went to church together. They hung out together. Blah, 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 blah. When I was growing up, me and my family were friends with another family. I grew up with their kids. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. I know how it happened. Oh my God. I'm not victim blaming. This is definitely not the child's fault. I fully do blame the parents. I'm sorry. Do not blame the child. The child is a child. She is 12 years old when this started. The alien thing, I think, is a little much, but I can kind of see where a child might be convinced of that. I mean, if you're a good enough liar and the child is naive enough, I can see where this would be a thing. But anyway, families played together, stayed together, whatever. He had separate affairs with both the mother and the father to gain access to the daughter that he wanted. He took her once, convinced her that she was an alien or half alien, convinced her that she had a mission to complete, that she had to have a child with him by the time she was 16 and she was 12 at the time. I'm letting all this kind of just had a mission to complete. Easy to I didn't grow up as naive, but I also understand that she was a 12-year-old child, and because her family was very naive, she was raised probably the same way. Okay. Wow, I'm wrapping my brain around this. This is difficult. Okay. So, and you can't fully blame them, I guess, because that ends this then as victim blaming, and I get mad about that. All right, so hold on. This is messing up my head. I guess I shouldn't have done this one. Okay, so he had separate affairs with both parents so he could have more access to her. He convinced mom to let her take horseback riding, but instead he kidnapped her. He kept her for a little while. They got married in Mexico. Well, he convinced her that she was a half alien and that she needed to have sex with him and make a baby so that she could save a planet. And her sisters and her dad, because her dad would die and her one sister would go blind, the other sister would have to replace her and she would be vaporized. So she decided to go ahead and do this thing. They finally get him back home. The charges basically are dropped because the parents were told by the FBI, don't let this man anywhere near you. And lo and behold, they did it anyway. I will not victim blame. I will not victim blame. I will not victim blame. The parents are just naive. Anyway, so she thought she had a mission to do. She thought she was saving her family by doing this mission. So she intended to get back together with him. So when he kidnapped her the second time, he put her in a Catholic girls' school, convinced the nuns that he was her father, and da 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 da. Parents finally get her back, and she realizes it's all one big lie. And he did 10 days in jail or in a mental facility, and then got out, walked around scot-free, followed her for a while. I know, it is incredibly mind-blowing. This whole story is mind-blowing. And like I said, I knew the story. I knew the story when I started this tonight. But I didn't have all my dates. So I thought, well, I'll look at them and get the dates. I learned some new stuff. For as well as I knew the story, and I did. For as well as I knew the story, and I did, I didn't know the thing about the amusement park, that he bought an amusement park. And they let her go with him again. At what point, sorry, piss. At what point do you say to yourself, you know what? I'm sorry that he tricked my husband into having sex. I'm sorry he tricked me into having sex. We can't worry about us right now. We got to get our daughter. We got to protect our daughter. The FBI should have been called immediately. Immediately. Motherfucking immediately. Not victim blaming. Just, I feel like the parents should have called sooner. I'm not. I feel like they should have called sooner. I'm struggling with this for many reasons. This was not a good story for me to cover, especially not right now. Anyway, it was a wonderful evening. God, I'm just trying to get out of this now. That's the story of Jan Broberg and her abductor, Robert Berchtold, that abducted her not once, but twice, and essentially more or less with the parents' permission. And at the same time was able to convince her that she was part alien and that she needed to have sex with him to protect her family and the race and the planet. And I don't know what all else. Okay. Well, that pretty much wraps up tonight. For people that watch me on Wednesdays, and I did bring up my daughter and other problems at the beginning of this, but on a lighter note, I will not be back this coming Wednesday, and I won't be back Friday. My daughter is coming down from Austin. She's coming down here to spend Thanksgiving with me. She's coming down on Wednesday and won't be leaving until Saturday or Sunday. She hasn't decided which day she's leaving. She's either leaving Saturday or Sunday. Point is, I won't be back for Watch Wednesday. I will not be back for next Friday night, so I'm going to be gone a full week. I know some of you guys are going to miss me while I'm gone, but I'll be back the following Wednesday after. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. Watch Wednesdays might not be Watch Wednesdays anymore, at least not for a while. If anybody watches this now or watching this later and you have suggestions of other cases you might want me to cover, I think I need to take a break from the Watch case for a little while. But next week I just won't be here at all. Like I said, my daughter's coming in Wednesday. She'll be here for Thursday, Friday. She's either leaving Saturday or Sunday, so I won't be here for Wednesday. I won't be here for Friday Night Live next Friday. I may take a break from doing Watch for a while. I may not. I mean, if people want me to do it, I'll keep doing it. So if anybody watching this now or that watches this later, my replay crew, watch this later, leave me comments. Let me know things you might want me to cover in the future. Thank you very much, Darlene. I know we will. Here's the only other problem I'm having with this. She's bringing down a new boyfriend that she's been dating for about 6 months now, and I have yet to meet. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be a blast. I love my daughter very much. And I think she's making better decisions about her men. Her last fiance was not good. He started out good. He was good until he wasn't. But even at his best, he wasn't as good as this one. This one's been treating her extremely well. We'll have to cross our fingers and wait. Anyway, with that being said, I'm glad that some people stopped in tonight. Darlene, I figured you would be here. You missed me last Friday night, Darlene. You weren't here last Friday night. I probably will. And I've told her that I of course will love him and welcome him to my home just like I would anybody else. He'll be loved and he'll be welcomed and he'll be taken care of. That's how my name Mama Robin actually got started. I changed it to Texas Beach Mom when I moved down here to the beach. So it made sense to me. But no, I've been Mama Robin for years. Um, I'd started because, as I've explained before in other chats, the neighborhood kids would hang out at my house, and hang out with my daughter, and they started, if they had problems or questions or something, they just start calling me Mama Robin. And I've been Mama Robin for many, many years. And I started my channel as Mama Robin, and then I changed it. And Darlene, you're in trouble because you weren't here last week, and we have to keep an open mind, Mama Robin. I'm trying. I try to keep a very open mind with everyone, and I know you've seen enough of my videos to know that I try to keep a very open mind with everyone, and I try to be fair with everyone. I do. Because I fight for the right to the people to speak their mind. I fight for everybody's rights on all topics, which we already know. I'm sure he'll be fine. For right now, he treats her wonderful. She could not expect to be treated better. And I'm sure I'll love him. And I know it wasn't personal. It wasn't. I don't have a lot of people that catch the lives during the lives. They usually catch it later. Which is fine. I don't care when y'all watch it as long as it gets watched. You know what I'm saying? But the one person I kind of count on being here now on Friday nights is you. So I was like, oh, I didn't even have Darlene. I was like, nobody showed up. I mean, I went ahead and I did it because, you can watch it later. But you were here and you're here now, and I'm happy about that. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. I've already been talking too long. The story was wild. I'm trying very, very hard not to say something that even sounds like victim blaming because I'm very highly against that. But yes, you are usually here. But with that being said, I definitely am not mad at the child at all. I don't blame her in any way, shape, or form. Granted, I wasn't naive at 12, but I wasn't raised that way. A lot of it has to do with how you're raised. And I guess you can't fully blame the parents either because they just didn't know. The way the FBI agent explained it, he said they were just incredibly naive. So we're going to work with that word. Naive is what they were. Very naive. Anyhow, so the story was wild. I never said that, and I would never say that. This is how I feel about it. Since I wasn't even going to bring it up. This is how I feel about it. For those of you who voted for him and you like him and you think he's a good president, Um, and I mean this sincerely. I do. All my heart. I mean this with all my heart. For those of you who voted for him and you like him, um, for those who voted for him and you like him and you believe in him, I honestly will hope, I really do, because it benefits everybody. I hope you all get everything you think you're going to get. But for the women that didn't, and they're worried about their reproductive rights, I did start out a little bit with a serious note, letting women know that there are options to prepare for this if you're concerned. And I mostly thought of it because my daughter is in that boat. She's not supposed to get pregnant. And I know you're joking. And I'm gonna end it right there. I'm gonna end the comments. That's why I don't do politics on here. I have too many people that subscribe to me that are probably down the middle of half of them voted for him. The other half of my subscribers probably didn't. I try not to be too political because there's so many various opinions, and we're so divided right now. We are so divided right now. So I try to avoid being political on here. I don't mind speaking my opinion, and I do all the time. I'm doing it right now. But by the same token, and I would like to be able to speak to people about different beliefs and not be attacked. I'm not worried about you attacking me, and I'm not going to attack you. But other people are quicker to jump. So I avoid it for those reasons. But we are divided. We're divided on issues. We're divided at almost 50% down the line. But yes, I did offer my advice to other women. And I appreciate the fact that you respect me enough to give me a little crap about it, but not be divisive over it. That's not the word I'm looking for. But yeah, I won't be back next Wednesday or this coming Wednesday because it's the day before Thanksgiving and I've got family coming. And I won't be back for Friday night because my family will still be here. And I'm not going to put my daughter or my children and my daughter's boyfriend on hold and say, hey guys, hold on. I'm going to do a Friday night live on YouTube. Y'all don't worry about it. If it was a bigger house, I could probably do it, but it's a smaller place and we're all kind of crammed in together. So I'm just going to step away for a week, and if there's anything else going on, I'll probably be better off right now anyway. So with that being said, we're wrapping things up. Darlene, I love you very much. I really do. I'm glad you were here. I love everybody that comes in and watches these. I love the people that come later and watch it later. I love my subscribers, and if I ever get high enough subscribers to do memberships, I know what I'm going to call us. I'm only about 50 people away from it now. Another 50 people and I can do memberships. My memberships will probably be something like 99 cents. Once I figure out what I'm going to do extra for members that other people won't be getting, probably start memberships like 99 cents. Not looking to make money, I'm really not. But if I ever get high enough and I ever start asking for memberships, I know what we're going to call this. Mama's Family. But anyway, I'm wrapping things up. I love everyone. If anybody watching this at any time has a suggestion of things they would like to cover, we can keep doing Watts Wednesdays if you want. I don't have a problem with that. If you have things you would like to see about Watts Wednesdays, let me know in the comments. If you have something you want me to cover for a while instead of Watts, I can cover them for a while. But we've got a whole week now that I won't be here. So within that week, people need to think about what they want to see. They need to let me know what they want to see. I'll be more than happy. If I don't know the case, I'll study it. This case I already knew, but I will study it. I will study whatever case it is. I will make myself familiar with it. I will jump into it. I'll do the best I can. So for now, as usual, I love everybody. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Make good choices. And please, since my Friday nights are kind of rough, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all the fun things you're supposed to do. All the YouTubers ask for it. So do I. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Anyway, I'm done being long-winded. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm going to end this so that people that want to go to bed can go to bed. Darlene, again, hon, I love you. I know you were joking. But I always appreciate you. Anyway, y'all have a good night.